What's up guys, the Strong Boys 19 here. This is going to be my long talk about what went on through my experience on these previous days last week that I had to deal with the biggest, notorious, bastardized ticketing manufacturing company, that is Ticketmaster, and I would also like to say my permanent, final, last ever time thoughts with the overall final result of what is going to become for the Black Sabbath Villa Park charity gig that is happening on July the 5th of this year. When I look back at this now, I have made a video about this and my reaction was completely full of positivity. I knew from the moment it happened that it was going to happen. But as time went on, with the whole mentality of me as well as with thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of fans who have been so desperate to have tickets, more updates have been spreading online across social media, not only about the gig, but with Ozzy and the updated, finalized result of adding in some more bands and additional performers of multiple musicians. I would like to say what I would like to say about this whole thing. But let's get started with Ticketmaster. I am one of those people who were very unlucky. Let's just say that this dynamic pricing of Ticketmaster is still on the rise. Ticketmaster once again have not learned their lesson. Before the reunion of Black Sabbath's classic lineup happened, it was reported over a few weeks ago at that time that thousands of Oasis tickets had been cancelled from Ticketmaster's choice because of the identification of bots. Now, I thought that was the right thing to do. Like Oasis and the other artists whose fan bases have been victimized through scammers after the sale of these tickets that have been sold out to the overall pricing, loads of fan bases from the likes of Taylor Swift to Coldplay and Adele, Oasis, as I've mentioned, and now Black Sabbath, they've all been victimized by Ticketmaster's dynamic pricing. Ticketmaster should have thought of this around the time when loads of Oasis fans have bought their tickets, and they should have cancelled those tickets because of the bot identification a lot sooner rather than later. And it's still not been fixed. All of this event for the Black Sabbath gig had been planned mostly through Sharon Osbourne. Now, say what you say about Sharon, but this is not an attack on Sharon, because I genuinely thought that this was a plan that felt like it was a great idea. Although what she said about Ozzy's voice, saying that his voice is sound as good and strong as ever, I think that is a completely made up comment, because we heavily thought about Ozzy, and I will go to Ozzy later on. It's not just with Sharon who made the entire planning, because obviously Black Sabbath's management become involved, as well as with the parent company that is Ticketmaster and Live Nation, as well as with Aston Villa. When I looked at the Aston Villa website, there has been 4 different packages. 2 of the most expensive ones came to a price of almost 800 quid. The gold package was, I believe, around half of 500 or close to 600, and the silver package was around half of 400. I believe those were the correct prices. So when I looked at the idea of having these separate pre-sales before the Valentine's Day general on sale began, I was heavily thinking about these pre-sales, and I made a comment about this by myself. I think 4 separate pre-sales was a completely terrible idea. They would have just swiped every single ticket that would have been available before the general on sale happened. The first pre-sale was with the artist pre-sale on the 11th. The second was with the O2 priority pre-sale. And I believe when I looked at the Ticketmaster page, there was some kind of like a download involved pre-sale, which I thought was really strange. The second to last one at the time, the Live Nation pre-sale, and then the last sale was the Valentine's Day general on sale. On the Valentine's Day general on sale, I didn't get my chance because I've waited for a full 2 hours. I was one of the 110,000 people. And then later on in late afternoon on the day, I found an article from Metal Injection. The general on sale was sold out in just 16 minutes. After 10 o'clock in the morning, it's completely obvious. It's so predictable. It's no wonder that these previous pre-sales would have made this general on sale completely impossible. The accepted price ranges from these sales, tickets-wise, went from the cheapest being close to £200 and the most expensive being around £800, although the Gold Circle area was at a price of nearly £3,000. I found out as well from someone on Reddit that there was a screenshot of this person who was one of the 550,000 people. Understandably, many Black Sabbath fans were pissed off by this whole thing. I would like to say my brief thoughts with the now updated lineup of the bands and artists that have been selected. Guns N' Roses, Tool, and Rival Sons. Rival Sons was a very unexpected pick. You guys know how I feel about Guns N' Roses. I have seen Tool live, and Tool were absolutely great live. If you look at the additional performances section, we see Andrew Watt, who produced the recent Ozzy Osbourne albums of Ordinary Man and Patient Number 9. Chad Smith, the drummer from Red Hot Chili Peppers, is also now involved. Vernon Reid from Living Colour was a really surprising choice. And we see Whitfield Crane from Ugly Kid Joe to be involved. I still think this lineup is really, really good. But what puzzled me even more was that we see some of the supporting bands, and yet some of the musicians on the additional performances section are from those bands. Now, there's a lot of people online that have said that it's a total rip-off. The whole event is not a rip-off. The whole rip-off comment is really on Ticketmaster. The whole fault here is on the company themselves. And to think that this is a charity event, it is still a beautiful idea. Some of the people may think that a lot of this money would go to Sharon Osbourne, but that is completely not the case, because as it was announced, all of the money and the profits will go to these selected charities from their choices. For people to think that this is a cash grab, even that it's a charity event, that's completely ungrateful to hear comments like this. This whole charity event, I bet, will immediately go down a storm. To these people who have got their tickets, I feel very happy for all of you guys. Some of my friends are going, and that makes me obviously really pleased. But what makes me happier the most the thought of people who have not seen Sabbath and any of these bands at all. So this whole event would be their first ever time. The event is going to start, as I've heard, at 10 o'clock in the morning, just because of these 3 extra bands, over 12 hours, which is completely crazy. I would hope that this event would be televised. There's a lot of people who would be thinking about filming these clips and to upload them on YouTube. Not just obviously with Black Sabbath and Ozzy, but with these multiple bands. And that would be still really cool to see. The biggest mistake that I should have addressed earlier was I didn't realise I was involved in Mastodon's mailing list, so I completely forgot. A really, really big fail on my part. To the final thought about this charity event. With the selected bands to support Black Sabbath and Ozzy, and as well as with these tons of other musicians, they are probably going to be doing a lot of covers of different Black Sabbath songs and Ozzy solo songs, a few songs of their own original songs, but to keep the heart and the spirit of Black Sabbath, showing their support, their homage to this classic, legendary, important and impactful band, to play maybe a cover or two. And I think that is why there has been a shit ton of these bands and musicians in the first place. I've heard that Bill Ward had not been very well through his own health issues. That is something to think about as much as obviously Ozzy's. Bill Ward will do his very, very best because, you know, I adore Bill Ward. He is one of my most favourite drummers of all time. To see him back with Black Sabbath, that is one of the best things about this. When it comes to the most difficult part, Ozzy Osbourne himself, I've made a video with my thoughts on Ozzy's retirement, which we thought that was the permanent retirement, since he cancelled his No More Tours 2 tour. It was an emotional thing to address at that time, and I almost cried because of how much it was something really hurtful to think about. With Ozzy now in hopefully high spirits to at least do his very best for this gig, it's with this recent report now that Ozzy is going to do bits and pieces. I don't think Ozzy is going to do a lot, if not any, of his chance of performing with Black Sabbath. We don't know what's going to happen here. We saw Ozzy sat down on his chair when he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He did not perform at all. It was with a ton of musicians playing a few tracks, Crazy Train being one of them. He would either be on it to at least try and do 1 or 2 songs, but it seems like it's very unlikely that he would do any of it. All of these musicians and bands on the bill are going to do their work for Ozzy. There's obviously going to be very private planned rehearsals for Black Sabbath, and I don't know, or we don't know actually, how many songs they are going to do. My guess is that they would probably play Paranoid to conclude the entire set. I would like to see Black Sabbath from anybody's photos and clips on YouTube, to see them being together. That's going to be a very moving part. and especially to see Ozzy in this state. I don't know what is going to happen. We don't know. But let's just celebrate Black Sabbath, as they have inspired all of us. They have inspired millions of fans all over the world. I was so lucky to see Black Sabbath only one time in late 2013 in Birmingham on the 13 tour with most of the classic lineup. It was incredible, and it was one of my favourite concert experiences. It made me so happy to see most of the lineup and to see Tommy behind the kit playing away, full of energy. The lineup at that time was full of chemistry. But to see Ozzy with his health at the time, that was not really bad, but it was still problematic. But he had the dedication to stand and engage the crowd. That's what I would love to remember about Ozzy. But to see him now in this state through his progressively worse Parkinson's disease, and it's really hard. It's really hard. This whole gig is not just to see Black Sabbath. It's to see a lot of these musicians who have been inspired by these guys, adoring the band that had pioneered this phenomenon of a genre that became heavy metal. It's not just for Black Sabbath only, it's for the fans, it's for the people who are going to be there to have their own experience. And I wish the lucky people the very, very best to have a great time. I felt a lot better to accept that I'm not one of the people who are going to go to this event, but to still fully embrace this whole thing. It's not just with the Ozzy era of Black Sabbath. Let's all celebrate Black Sabbath through all of the eras. Through the eras from Dio to Ian Gillan, Glenn Hughes and Tony Martin. That's another thing that we have to be very mindful of. We celebrate Black Sabbath through all of the legacy. That's all I would like to say about this, guys. I know that this is a long ramble about this. Thank you guys for watching, and I will keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.